A population increase of over 10 million people in the course of 20 years. That in the last 10 years alone, 7.2 million people born outside our country have registered with GPs. Your population in this county rose from 2011 to 2021 by 14%. And nearly all of that directly a result of opening up the doors to the whole of the world and asking no questions. Of the last 3 million that came in to Britain to settle under the Conservatives from the greater world outside of Europe, of the last 3 million, only 22% are working. And guess what? You're paying for all the rest. It is making our roads busier. It is making house building happen on a level that is wholly unsustainable. It is making access to public services such as health, frankly, virtually unrecognizable, albeit in some cases almost impossible. Been led by people happy to give away our sovereignty to Brussels or the World Health Organization or, frankly, anybody else. Led by people whose idea of diversity is to literally change many of our inner cities into places where you can barely even recognize them as being England. And our response to that is easy. We welcome people who legally come to Britain, who work hard, obey the law, pay their taxes, but recognize and integrate with our way of life and don't try and impose their way of life upon us. So there's much to do, but we can't pretend. We cannot pretend that on May the 1st, everybody that goes out to vote will vote purely on local council issues. National politics will have a say in whether you turn out and how you vote. And national politics has an impact on the lives of every one of you. And I cannot think of one area that has more profoundly changed the way we live and our quality of life than the population explosion started by New Labour and then accelerated under 14 years of Conservative rule. A population increase of over 10 million people in the course of 20 years. You wonder why you can't get a GP appointment? Let me tell you that in the last 10 years alone, 7.2 million people born outside our country have registered with GPs. Just think about that. 7.2 million people more on GP registers is one of the major reasons why you simply can't get a GP contract. Think of house building going on in your county. Your population in this county rose from 2011 to 2021 by 14%. And nearly all of that directly a result of opening up the doors to the whole of the world and asking no questions. And by the way, we're in favor of people that come to Britain, work hard, obey the law, pay their taxes, and integrate with our communities. We've no problem with that. We never have had. We're a very, very open-minded people. But when you think of the last 3 million that came in to Britain to settle under the Conservatives from the greater world outside of Europe, of the last 3 million, only 22% are working. And guess what? You're paying for all the rest. It is making our roads busier. It is making house building happen on a level that is wholly unsustainable. It is making access to public services such as health, frankly, virtually unrecognizable, albeit in some cases almost impossible. And this has been done by a Labour Party and a Conservative Party, and it's up to the local council to pick up the pieces. And I think on this, people will vote on May the 1st. And I want to say this to you. Blair was open about it 25 years ago. He said, we'll open up the doors, and he did. But the numbers that have come under the Conservatives, who promised us in 2010 in their manifesto they'd reduce numbers to tens of thousands a year. They told us again in 2015, 2017, 2019, promise after promise after promise after promise. They'd reduce the numbers to sustainable levels. In 2023 alone, net 1 million more people came into our country. And I want to suggest to you, as you vote in these elections, where the Conservative Party have massive majorities in both West and Northamptonshire councils, I want to suggest to you that that betrayal of their promises is of such a scale that they should never, ever be forgiven for it. And that we should replace them. We need to replace the Conservative Party as the voice of opposition, as the voice of Middle England against a Labour Party in government that I don't think is doing very well. Oh, Starmer, he looks so blooming miserable, doesn't he? I mean, Rachel from Accounts almost got rigor mortis. I mean, whatever you think of Angela Rayner, at least she's fun, I suppose. But I mean, my God, they got everything wrong, haven't they? And think of the impact. Yesterday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. Anybody see me get my tattoo on the arm? It's not real, it's a henna tattoo. I couldn't scrub it off this morning, but it will go. But every single person here who works in retail, who works in hospitality, for them, yesterday was a hammer blow. A hammer blow because for every employee they've got, their bill went up by £1,000 per person yesterday. The economy is in real trouble. The economy is literally flat-lining. Folks, we'll be frank about this, we are in, as a country, and you as a county, we are in economic decline. Serious decline. All the experts talk about is GDP, gross domestic product. So what happens if the population goes up by 1 million? Gross domestic product goes up. But what about gross domestic product per capita? What about the individual level and measure of wealth? Let me tell you, it has fallen for 6 of the last 8 quarters, and it's falling right now. A period of mass migration into Britain of people mostly who do not work is coinciding with us getting poorer. And I am the only leading politician with the guts and the courage to stand up, to face the abuse, to tell you the truth, and to ask you to vote for it on May the 1st this year. And again, there are many other impacts of national policy on local policy. Take Corby. Corby, the great steel town, which filled up with a lot of people from Scotland, of course, didn't it, famously? 10,000 jobs in steel at Corby just a couple of decades ago. Now, but a few hundred. But can that even survive? Scunthorpe, the last primary steel producing plant in our country. And both Richard Tice and I have said for years it will close. Why? Because we now have the most expensive commercial energy prices in the whole world. The more wind turbines we build, the more solar farms we build, we can con ourselves we're saving the world, What we're doing is giving everybody, including you as consumers, but I'm focusing for now, especially on business. Our energy prices for manufacturers are 5 times higher than the United States of America. We are deindustrializing, cement making gone, aluminium production totally gone, chemical production back to a very, very small core. The North Sea, overtaxed by the Conservatives and now being closed down by Red Ed Miliband. Oh, he really is awful, isn't he? I know. Don't worry, I'm in Doncaster on Monday. I'll be taking the fight to him there. We will, whatever happens with renewables, whatever breakthroughs there may or may not be, let's be clear. We will be using oil and using gas at least up until 2050. And this party argues, if we're going to use oil and gas, let's produce our own oil and gas and not import it from all around the world. And let's manufacture our own steel. Let's manufacture our own aluminium. Let's have our own refineries, our own cement makers. Let's re-industrialize Britain rather than exporting it to India and China. Let's do it. It's complete and utter madness what is going on. I feel both political parties are now completely out of touch with you here in Middle England. Most of this Labour Party are a bunch of human rights lawyers living in Islington and elsewhere with very different priorities to you. And the Conservative Party, which has historically represented this county at local and national level, now doesn't know what it is. You want to meet the MPs they've got left. I mean, half of them should be in the Lib Dems. They're arrogant, stuffy. I mean, goodness knows why they feel so pleased with themselves. But frankly, they are hopeless. After a quarter of a century campaigning for us to get back our national sovereignty, because I always believed the EU was a mistake. I always believed that the best people to govern Britain were the British people themselves through the ballot box and through Parliament, and I fought for that. And I was nearly the patron saint of lost causes, but I kind of kept on going, and of course I had 20 years in the European Parliament, an experience that I enjoyed more than they did. They weren't happy bunnies when I was there, were they? And yet I wasn't rude. I just took the mickey out of them and they couldn't take it. But I really thought on the 31st of January, 2020, being in Parliament Square, 100,000 people, and I was the one doing the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, way, we're out. And I really thought then, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with politics. I've given so much of my adult life to fighting for this massive, historic, 300-year biggest constitutional change. And I never for a moment imagined that I would come back into the political fray. Because life was pretty good. You know, great job at GB News, which I've loved. Loved it. Turned 60 last year. I'm 61 tomorrow. It doesn't get better, does it? First 2 grandkids born. And I thought, my name's in the history books. I was the man that made Brexit happen. But I've come back. And that day, it's 3rd of June last year, I'm in the car, coming into central London, and we've announced secret press conference, and no one knew what it was. And it took me a couple of hours to get in through the traffic into central London. And I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I putting my head so firmly over the parapet, that every enemy sniper within range will have a go at me. Why am I doing this? And I thought to myself in the car that day, I'm doing it because there are three things that I love and three things that I really, truly, honestly believe in. And I think they're the same three things that most of you will believe in. I think they're the same three things that the silent majority in this country who've not been given a voice, but boy, we in Reform UK intend to give them a voice. Those three things, all of which I believe are under attack and assault, are family, community, and country. They're the things that I love. They're the things that I will fight for, and I invite you to do the same. And that's what matters. Been led by people happy to give away our sovereignty to Brussels or the World Health Organization or, frankly, anybody else. Led by people whose idea of diversity is to literally change many of our inner cities into places where you can barely even recognize them as being England. And our response to that is easy. We welcome people who legally come to Britain, who work hard, obey the law, pay their taxes, but recognize and integrate with our way of life and don't try and impose their way of life upon us.